rappers be talking about I got your bitch. Instagram got your bitch. Instagram got your bitch.
You know, I've been thinking about something lately. What would human behavior look like if Instagram just never existed? Like, really think about that. Would people get through dinner faster because nobody's taking 12 photos of their fried calamari? Would vacations feel more relaxing because nobody's trying to prove they're relaxed? Would weddings feel more intimate because people aren't half planning them around drone shots and carousel posts? You know what? I don't know. But what I do know is posting on Instagram feels weird now. I saw a tweet the other day that said that posting a picture on Instagram feels like dropping an album, and posting a story is like the single. And that's actually painfully accurate. Like, that's a perfect way to describe it. I grew up in the early days of Insta, back when it was brown and tan, and I went through the whole revolution. I'm a boomer zoomer, and back then it was chill. There was all types of shit, TBH posts, oh my gosh, leave a comment if you remember that. But now, it's totally different, because posting on Instagram isn't casual like that anymore. For some reason, it feels high pressure. It feels curated. It feels like you're submitting your life for review. And I think the reason is that Instagram stopped being a feature of life and it became the audience hovering over life. I was talking to a Foyd coworker the other day and she said, "Oh my god, my friend is about to hard launch her boyfriend." And I was like, what the hell's a hard launch? She explained that that's basically how people announce relationships now, which is such an insane sentence when you stop and think about it. A relationship just used to exist. You used to go to your local diner and get a banana split with your nice little Foyd. Now you're gesture maxing on Hinge with your AI photos on a yacht, but I digress. Now, relationships have a rollout strategy. Now it has phases. Soft launch, which is, by the way, whenever you just post like a fucking hand. It's like a girl will I think it's mostly girls who are into this. They'll like be at dinner and then they'll literally just post a hand like they're playing Super Smash Bros. Melee. And then there's the hard launch, where it's basically just like a prom style photo of you and your new boyfriend like sitting together at the beach or some shit like that. And in my head, I'm thinking, so this is basically her telling all her simps to back off for a minute because she's trying out one specific guy. But it also made me realize how curated posting has become. And I'm not even saying it's always even on purpose. A lot of people are not consciously sitting there scheming like little PR managers. We just intuitively understand now that some moments are just for Instagram. And the relationship reveal is one of them. And if we're being honest, that absolutely gets factored into who people date. How good do you look together? How good is the tag gonna hit whenever they look at his profile? How strong is the prom pose photo at the baseball game gonna look? You gotta look at those angles, you gotta make sure that you're not leaning in too much, you gotta fail, what is it, the green line test or whatever? Anyways, that matters now. Maybe not to everybody, and I try to be above it, but I'll tell you what I do at the end. But it definitely matters to a scary number of people. You know, I know a lot of guys try to act like they're above all this shit. Also, let's be honest, I'd say a good 50% of dudes are just straight up invisible to the femoid race. And I think the reason posting feels so high pressure is because Insta is probably the purest expression of the bad side of socials. Twitter, I love Twitter. It's for jokes, rage, memes, takes, based edginess. And Reddit is for anonymous posting, weird niche communities, advice, schizophrenia, whatever. But Instagram? Motherfucker, Instagram is different. Instagram is where a lot of people put their actual life on display. Like it's one of the last beacons where people my age actually post photos. And they do it to be compared against others' lives. You know they say comparison is the thief of joy. But nobody gives a fuck about that. We're trying to shine, baby. And that fact changes everything. Because the picture stops being just a picture. Now it's evidence. Evidence your life is fun, your relationship is good, you're attractive, high status, you're doing summer correctly. That's why going to a nice restaurant doesn't just feel like going to a nice restaurant. For a lot of people, the outing ain't complete until the photo exists. I mean, phone eats first, am I right? Same with the trip, the event, the date. I mean, the real players out there know that showing a girl is just going to give you more girls. I don't recommend that, but Sadly true. Hell, I've even seen weddings where it feels like the wedding itself is almost secondary to the content package. And I'm not even saying people are fake in some cartoon villain way, like no devious plots here. I think a lot of this is just what happens when you spend years living with a phantom audience in your head. And I by no means am above it. I'm a victim of this shit too. And I think the pressure gets even worse when Gen Z is so irony poisoned now. Nobody wants to be earnest anymore. Nobody wants to put themselves out there too hard. And everyone's terrified of looking cringe. And I think social media absolutely did that. Everybody's scared of doing something dumb and then somebody pulling out their phone, putting you on TikTok, and next thing you know, you can't go into Duke anymore. Now judgment is constant. In the past, somebody could think you were lame and you would never even hear about it. I mean, think about it. People could hate your guts and you would be none the wiser. Now a random person could tell you to kill yourself because you like Pepsi over Coke. That changes how people moves. Like, that leaves a psychological impression, and that gives us collectively a psychological complex around that. It makes people overthink. It makes people hide. It makes people hedge everything with irony so they don't have to actually stand on it. And that's part of why Instagram feels so tense. Because it's a platform built around showing yourself, and we live in a culture that's increasingly terrified of sincere self-expression. That combination is brutal. So here's where my take might be a little bit different than just Instagram bad, because that's pretty boring, let's be honest. Because the reality is, the cat's out the bag. Instagram exists, the camera phone exists, the audience exists. Like, we ain't going back, bruh. So I don't think the answer is to just freeze up and do nothing. Honestly, I think the answer is to become a little post-ironic about it. Like, yeah, go to the beach, post that shirtless thirst trap. Just make sure you hit the gym before you do it, dude. I mean, if you're not doing that, that's step one. Go listen to that new record by Kanye. Post that story in a performative way. Take that good steak photo. Get your angle just right, little goy. Make that off-guard photo look accidentally perfect. I think the best way to handle it is you just gotta play the game a little. Use socials to help your digital footprint. Do it for friends, do it for voids, do it for opportunities. That's real. And I think that's the next step. You know, there's one thing to be aware of the game and try to go on the other side and be counterculture edgy. I mean, do that if you want. It's another thing to not even know what the game is. That's probably the worst thing. But it's another thing to know what the game is and then be conscious of that moving forward and use it to your advantage. To me, that's the play. I think pretending Instagram doesn't affect mate selection in 2026 is just naive. Like, of course it does. That's part of why I understand those guys using AI to clean up their image and put themselves on yachts. Although I think that falls apart in person, obviously. But as a strategy for getting attention online, yeah, I get why people do it. Because once the whole culture starts rewarding image, people start to adapt. But here's the problem. The problem is whenever the post becomes more important than the moment. That's where it gets dark and blackpilling. Because when the vacation becomes content, the dinner, the relationship, the wedding, eventually you're not even living your life, dude. You're managing it. That's the feeling I think people are picking up on when posting feels bad right now. It's not just insecurity. It's the sense that the platform is asking you to turn your actual life into marketing material. And if you do it badly, you feel lame. I mean, humans are social creatures. There's no way to get around that as much as a lone wolf you think you want to be. If you post too sincerely, you feel a little bit exposed. If you do it too well, you start becoming the kind of person who might confuse the post with the experience. That's the trap. So yeah, I don't think Instagram ruined humanity or anything dramatic like that. Like any tool, it can connect people or depress them. It can help you stay in touch with your old friends or make you feel like your life sucks. But I do think Instagram changed human behavior in a very specific way. It made people start living with an audience in the room. And once that happens, posting no longer feels casual. It feels loaded, strategic, feels like a statement. That's why posting a photo feels like dropping an album now. Because in a weird way, it is. You're not just sharing a memory anymore. You're presenting your life. And the only real answer, at least to me, is to use the tool without letting it turn every meaningful moment into a performance. So yeah,